All right, scale of the day. Lesson 10. We're making some progress here. We've covered a lot of ground already. So I got my Gibson hat on, and I got my Gibson SG. This one's called the Reaper. And it's called the Reaper because I bought it on my 50th birthday because it was black like death. All right, so I got my Gibson hat, my Gibson SG, and a shirt with a vacuum tube on it. We must be ready to rock. And that's the case because we're going to start talking about pentatonics. And boy, are these ever used extensively in rock and roll and in country and in other pop music and things to solo. But pentatonic scales are super, super important to know as a guitar player. And if you ever want a solo, this is where it all starts for most people, is they learn pentatonics. In fact, a lot of times, and like I've referred some people to the Learn and Master Guitar class, especially some beginners and people just starting out. It's a really great course for beginners, and even intermediate players will get a lot out of it too. Even in that, I think the first scales he really introduces, I guess he talks about the major scale, but he doesn't like go through all the caged patterns. And the first time he kind of introduces 5 patterns is with pentatonics in that course. It's pretty common with a lot of instructors too to kind of get you going on these because you can play along with songs with these and you can solo and do fun stuff. And that's an important part. If all you ever do is sit and do the theory, which is what we're doing here, if that's all you ever do, you're going to get kind of tired of this. But this stuff is the hard work that gets you to being a good player. If you don't learn this theory below it, most people don't become that good. Okay, they maybe learn songs from tabs and they look like they're good because they can go out and play some songs, but they don't really know what they're doing. And if you throw them into a situation and say solo, a lot of them can't do anything. They don't have any idea where to start. So, anyway, I digress. Pentatonic scales. All right, so most people get taught this pattern. I'm going to put this up. This is the C and A minor pentatonic scale. A lot of times they teach this as pattern 1. And the reason they do that is this is absolutely the most used pentatonic scale form in rock guitar playing and soloing on guitar. Everybody knows this pattern almost. But we're going to go beyond just learning this pattern, so stay with me. Don't go, yeah, I already know this, I'm out of here. All right, so they usually teach it like this graphic. They show you where the major root is and the minor root is on the 6th string, and they go, all right, here's the pattern. Your pinky's at the 8th fret, and your index finger's here. And this will give you a C major pentatonic scale and an A minor pentatonic scale. It's 2 for 1. You get two forms out of this, so you can play against C major or you can play against A minor. All right, so the pattern is... That's it. Nice looking, pretty symmetrical pattern that's easy to learn, easy to remember. Everybody learns this one, and they usually learn it as one of the first scales they learn on guitar. Okay, so if you wanted to play in C major, you put your pinky finger on the C, and you're going to play this pattern, and it'll be a C major pentatonic scale. Great, and if you want to play against A minor, you put your index finger on the A and your pinky up here on the C, okay, and you play the same pattern. Okay, lesson concluded. You know how to play pentatonic scales. Wasn't that easy? Great. However, you don't know much about pentatonics when you know that. You know you can use these and you can solo, and that's great. Go off and do that. Go get a C major blues track or an A minor blues track, even better, because the minor pentatonic gets used even probably more, certainly in blues and stuff, used extensively. So, a lot of guitarists don't even realize these are 2 for 1, and they only think of these as minor pentatonic scales, and they only play minor stuff, against this. So, but they are 2 for 1, same pattern, major and minor. Okay, so look, let's step back and learn something, though, because it's not enough to just go, okay, I know a pattern. That can get you so far. That can get you to where you can have some fun playing, and I highly recommend you start with that. Learn this pattern, okay? And we're going to do some practice with it today, but we're going to learn more, too. Okay, so look, let's talk about this for a minute. So what is a pentatonic scale? It's a 5-note scale that's derived from the major scales we were just learning in prior lessons, okay? They take the major scale that has 7 scale degrees, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and back to 1, right? C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. They knock out the 4th scale degree and the 7th scale degree. Okay? What? Am I blowing your mind? Knock out the 4th and 7th scale degree. So in a C major scale, that leaves you C, D, E. The next note would be F. We're going to skip right over that, F, and not play it. Then we're going to go to G and A, and that's 5 notes. Then we're going to skip right over that 7th scale degree, which would be the B, and we're back to C. 5 notes. C, D, E, G, A. Okay, so in the form that we were looking at, C, D, E, G, A. Now, if you want to know how prevalent these are, tell me if you recognize this. I got sunshine. Okay, get the picture? Pentatonic scale, right there. Major pentatonic scale, right there. Very famous lick, right? There's tons of stuff with pentatonics. So, okay, pentatonic scale, 5-note scale. We're knocking out the 4th and 7th scale degrees of the major scale. All right, well, what does that look like? I mean, I already showed you one of the 5 patterns of this, but let's look at it on a single string, okay? So first, let me put up the major, just the major scale, C major scale. We'll play it on the 2nd string, right? So it's, laying out nice across the fretboard here, starting at the 1st fret. So we go C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, right? And we've played these before. Essentially, one of the lessons was single string scales. And I also did something way back when where I said just down pick and say the natural notes, right? E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F. Well, if you did that on this string, you pretty much did a C major scale, except you started on B, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, right? You're going up the neck. Okay, so that's a C major scale. So if we want to knock that out, and there's a reason I'm doing this on one string, so stick with me, because most people don't think about looking at pentatonics on a single string. All right, so this is always a good way to look at a scale, though, because it tells you the distances between the notes. It tells you the intervals, okay? So if we want to do a pentatonic, we start on C. 2nd note is D. The 3rd note is E. We're going to skip the 4th degree. We're going to knock that F note out and jump right up to the G. Right, so here's the E, F, G, A, and then back to the C. So it's C, D, E, G, A, and back to C, okay? This distance of 2 frets we're pretty familiar with. We've done half steps and whole steps. It's called a second. But when we go to this jump, so we go C, D, E. Now we're going from the E to the G, right? Well, that's 3 frets. What do we call that? Well, we haven't covered intervals in my little lesson series, but that interval is called a minor third. Okay? So when you put this together, you're doing a whole step, a minor third, a whole step, and a minor third to get back to the root. Back to the tonic, the root. Okay? And so that's what you end up with on a single string. But that helps you see the layout. Alright? Now, great, that's swell. So what do we do with that? Well, alright, so now let's go back and look at our C major scale that was in this same form up here with our pinky on the 8th fret, index on the 5th fret, right? And this would also appear up at the 17th and the 20th up here again. So But this is a major scale, right? And we remember this scale, right? We did this. It was 6, 7, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. And in fact, when we looked at the Segovia scales in yesterday's lesson, we even used the top half of this pattern, right? Remember, because we started down here and did 2 octaves, we did shift, right? That was our Segovia C major scale. Okay, well, we were using, remember I said we were using the top half of pattern 5? Okay, well, this is pattern 5 of the major scale, right? And we did this as a lesson. Should look familiar. Right? Looks familiar. So now knock out the 4th and 7th scale degrees on that pattern. And what do you get? Okay, here's a diagram just kind of Xing those right out. So you can see now you're going 6, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 1. Okay, and that's the pattern for a pentatonic. It's 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. Okay, you take a major scale and you play 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 from that scale, and that'll give you the major pentatonic. All right, which is also so here it is. I just want to show it as plain and as simple as you can see it. And now let's just look at this pattern for a minute and do what we always do with these scales. Look at the pattern and look for symmetry, okay? Well, first thing you notice is there are always 2 notes on a string, okay? Which makes these really pretty easy to play. One of the reasons they get used a lot, right? If something super difficult, it doesn't get used as much, right? Something simple is good. It's good. Guitar playing is complicated. Pentatonic scales are great because they work over power chords, and they're major and they're minor, but they're both. And you know, power chords are both. So if you don't know what a power chord is, it's the 1st and the 5th, and then sometimes they'll add the 1st again. And those get used in rock all over the place. Whoops. That's just one example. Power chords. Power chords work great with pentatonic scales. You know, you get a rhythm guy doing some power chords, and lead guys doing pentatonic scales, and you're off to the races, right? All right, so this pattern is pretty simple. It's 2 notes per string, so we're on the 5th fret. And first thing you notice is every note on the 5th fret gets played. Well, that gives you a nice anchor point to work from. So now you got to do is look at the rest of it, and you see the rest of them are on the 3rd and 4th third and 4th fingers, right? So some people play the whole pattern with their 1st and their ring finger, so they'll play it as. And especially if you have big long ET fingers, that probably even works better for you. I don't. I'm a mere mortal, and I like to use all my fingers because I've spent all this time working on them. I might as well put them to use. So I play it 1st finger, 4th finger, and then 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 4. Okay? So now I just want to practice that a little bit and start letting you get that under your fingers. So let's, 60 beats a minute, let's do 8th notes. 1 and 2 and just right up the pattern. Go. Whoops. 1 and 2 that up quite a bit here. Let's go up to 72. 1 and 2 and ready, go. And 4. 1 and 2 and ready, go. And okay, are you keeping yourself curved up on your fingertips, playing up on the tips like that? Not flat like that. Okay, you don't want this. You want this. Thumb not over the top, back behind. Alright, so let's just do eighth notes and alternate picking. 1 and 2 and ready, go. And down, up, 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 down, up. Okay, you getting the right hand picking nice and consistent, especially at the turnaround at the top. Let's keep going. Let's pick this up a little bit. Let's go up to 100. 1 and 2 and ready, go. And are you getting every note to ring clear? I'm playing really sloppy. I'm tired tonight. But you want to be concentrating on ringing every note clear and not having a bunch of other string noise from other strings while you're doing it, okay? Nice and clean. There's a reason I'm using a clean tone while practicing, okay? You want to hear the noise. And so if you practice clean most of the time, if you start getting other string noise in there, you hear it a lot more than if you get a bunch of drive on there and you're like, you can still hear it if you get string noise, but that's all palm muted. You can hear it, but it's better if you're clean. You can just hear it better. You can hear if you're not clean. All right, let's keep going a little bit and pick this up a little more. Work our right hand a little here on the picking. This is 112. We'll do eighth notes. 1 and 2 and ready, go. And see, I bumped a string there. I could hear it ringing. Okay, let's a couple more. Let's try 120. 1 and 2 and ready, go. And down, up, 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 down, up. I played a wrong note there. Okay, you play that pretty cleanly. You should do that until you're starting to make mistakes, and when you make mistakes, back that metronome down a little. So really what you want to do is you want to start working these up. When you make a mistake, you want to back off like 3 clicks and do it again. 2 clicks. Oh, I screwed up. Go back 3 clicks. Okay, let's go forward 2. Okay, let's go forward 2. Again. Okay, and go up. Now another way to approach this when you're learning this stuff is a different thing. So one way to ladder up your speed and work your speed up is just to start there, play it slow, and then notch it up 1 or 2 clicks. Keep notching it up 1 or 2 clicks every time you play it clean. Another way to do it is more like, okay, here we are at 69. Can you play it 10 times in a row clean? Sit there and do it. See, I screwed up. In that instance, what I would do, but I'm not going to on the video for the sake of time, is I would start over at 1 and say, okay, you got to do 10 in a row, not just 10. 10 in a row clean at that speed. Once you do it at that speed, bump it up a couple of clicks and try to do it 10 at that speed. Okay? Now, or you can do 5. Now, this is boring, okay? It's boring. But the slow repetitions really are the ones that let your brain get those finger movements programmed, and you want them programmed clean. You don't want mistakes. It takes a lot more effort once you start playing mistakes to undo that wiring in your head. Okay, so if you do the boring part up front on these patterns and you play them slowly till you really get those patterns ingrained, and you'll know, you know what the pros do? Can you play it 25 times in a row without a mistake? I know some pros who say, that's how I know when I'm ready to perform the song, is can I play it 25 times in a row with 0 mistakes? And then they say, can I play it 25 times in a row in the dark with the lights out where I can't see the neck without mistakes? And when I do that, I'm ready to perform. Okay, now that's a professional level of performance. Okay, that's how they know they're going to step on stage and deliver every night, not get out there and foul up. That takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. I have a great deal of respect for the musicians who do that. Okay, it takes a lot to get things programmed that well in your head. And for a lot of people, that becomes, kind of boring on certain things, so they won't do it, okay? But that's the difference between, hey, if you're going to make your living doing it, that's what you need to do to really perform at a high level. But, hey, if you're an average player, you're probably not going to play a song 15, 20,000 times just to be able to go out and play a $50 gig. Okay? You're going to get it close and go, sounds pretty good to me. Okay, but those are a couple ways to practice and just a little bit more skill. This isn't so hard. This is a pretty easy pattern to learn, and I just wanted to get it under your fingers a few times. If you're an intermediate player, you probably already know this, but you may not know all the stuff that goes with it that we're going to cover here. So let's keep going. So, okay, we said this is a 2-for-1 scale pattern. Here I'm just saying, hey, it's pentatonic scale, and it's pattern 5, right? So here it is. Now let me show it with the roots in there. Now before I only said, oh yeah, they show you there's a minor root on your index and a major root on your pinky. But look, we want to be smarter than that. We want to know where the rest of the root notes are in this pattern. If not, what all the notes are, okay? At a minimum, we want to know this is a C, this is a C, and this is a C. Okay, and that's why this is pattern 5. That's why I'm calling this pattern 5, is to tie it back to that major pattern we learned before. Look at that triangular shape of those roots. This is the G form, right? If we played an open G chord shape and then barred, we get a C chord in that position, okay? So those roots are in the G form. I want you to see that clearly. Now let me blow your mind. Because what happens next? But we said this is also an A minor pentatonic scale, so where are the A's? Because if we're playing an A minor, we're going to want to emphasize those, right? Well, there's your A's. If there's an A on the 5th fret at the E string, there's an A on the 5th fret of the high E string, right? And we've already mentioned that octave shape used in jazz octaves and used in this root pattern. Okay, but I thought pattern 5 went with the G form. That's the E form we talked about, right? Yeah, well, these are A minor roots within that pattern. So they correspond to the neighboring pattern, okay? So while this is when it's major, it's the G form roots, but when it goes to minor, they fall into the root pattern of a neighboring scale form, okay? So they're going to be in the E form, and this concept is important because later on we're going to talk about shifting on the fly in a song between playing in pentatonic major and pentatonic minor in your solo. And that's really powerful. It gets used in a lot of songs. People do that, and it's a really... But there's tons of players. I can't tell you, I think Steve Stein put up a video on that topic and showed kind of what that's about with pentatonic patterns shifting between the major and minor. And in a minute, I'll talk a little bit about that too. But I was reading some of the comments under it, and there are people like, man, I've been playing for 40 years, and I never knew this. This blew my mind. It totally opened up my playing. And it's like, okay, well, that's good, but if you were taking some lessons, you probably would have learned, or if you studied a little bit harder, you would have learned that, and it's a powerful thing. So, all right, so the minor scales are here, and we said the major scales were in the G form. So if you look at them together, here they are together within that pattern. Now this is starting to be a complicated thing to look at if you're a beginner looking at this for the first time. And there's another point I want to make about this. So we see major roots in red here. Got my red and green Christmas theme going again. The major roots are in red, okay? C major pentatonic, those are the C's. And A minor pentatonic, the green ones, those are minor roots. But they're not just any minor roots, they're the relative minor roots. They're A minor. What they're not is they're not C minor. Okay, so don't get confused and think, well, if the C major pentatonic is this, then I want to play in C minor, I go, no, you don't. Because what did we say before? We said if you want to play major, you put your pinky on that 6th string root on the note that you want. So if you wanted C minor, that wouldn't work, right? That's major, right? So what you got to do if you want C minor is you got to put your index finger on the C root and now play that pattern. So that's C minor. But in this pattern that's 2 for 1, so that, by the way, C and C minor, that's called parallel minor. It means they're parallel minor, or sometimes called tonic minor. They share the same tonic, the same root note, C. Okay, and I'm going to show this in a minute. And down here, so this was relative minor roots that we're talking about. The relative minor, when you look at that, that means they share the same key signature, which means they share the same notes in the scale. You remember all the way back at the beginning, we did the C major open scale down here. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And I said, oh, by the way, this is also the A minor scale because it uses the same notes just shifted. So we go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. And I said that's the relative minor, but I don't think I did anything much to explain it other than maybe said. And that comes from the 6th scale degree, A, of the major scale. C, D, E, F, G, A. A minor, relative minor, okay? And so they share a key signature, the same notes, all right? And there we go. We were off to the races. So we have this here, and we have our major root on our pinky and our relative minor root on our index finger. With major roots of the C and minor roots of the A. Okay, so depending on which one of those you're playing, you're going to emphasize those root notes a lot more. So that's why you want to know where the other ones are too. Right, because if you're soloing, there's a pretty good chance that a lot of what you're doing is up in this range. That sounds pretty bluesy. I'm kind of emphasizing the minor notes there. Those notes more. If I was major, I'd emphasize those more if I was playing C major pentatonic. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more now about this relative minor and parallel minor thing and just give you a little dose of theory here. So here's a slide, and I want you to stop and think about this and just learn this concept along the way. So the parallel minor, or the tonic minor, of any particular major key, doesn't matter if it's C major, D major, E major, the parallel minor is the key that's based on the same tonic, the same root note. So the parallel minor of C is C minor. And correspondingly, C major is the parallel major of C minor. Okay? These scales have different notes, and that's why they're not the same scale pattern, okay? So C major is C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. C minor, okay, has 3 flats in it. If you don't know what sharps and flats are, they're the spaces in between when we did the natural notes and said C, D, E, F, G. Flats and sharps are the notes in between those. So C, C sharp or D flat, D, D sharp or E flat. Okay, we're going up like that. So the C minor is C, D, E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat. Okay? It has a dark kind of sound, just like the A minor had that dark sound. Kind of sounds a little sinister. Right? Same kind of thing, it would be just transposed up to C minor. So, all right, so that's parallel minor. So C and C minor, those are parallel minors. But when we're talking about our pentatonics, those are relative minors. So now what you see down here is the major scale and the minor scale that have the same key signature. Okay, so that's that treble clef, squiggly G looking thing. Cursive looking G is where that came from because it's centered around the G note on the staff. That's called the treble clef, and that represents the key of C and the key of A minor. It's relative minor. Okay. Later when we talk about modes, you'll come to discover it also represents the D Dorian mode, the E Phrygian mode, etc. and so on. So when you talk about a key, there's actually a whole series of chords that go in that and scales that fit under that, and those are the modes. We're going way beyond pentatonics, but I just want to introduce that thought to you, okay? So look, when we look at the keys that share the same key signature, what does a key signature tell us? Well, it's shorthand to tell us which notes are sharp or flat in the piece of music we're going to play. And when you look at the key of C, which is also the key of A minor, there are no sharps or flat. It's just the treble clef. 0 sharps, 0 flats. And these scales, as we talked about for the open scale, they share the same notes. So C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Same notes A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, just starting from the 6th scale degree of the major scale and going up from the A, right? But it gives you a different sound that's darker because while the intervals between the specific notes are the same, they're shifted relative to the tonic note that you're starting on, the root note that you're starting on, okay? So then I got this little pie wedge looking thing here in this graphic. What the heck is that? Well, yesterday I mentioned something called the circle of fifths when we were talking about the Segovia scales, and I said, this is the Rosetta Stone of music theory. It's your secret decoder ring to music theory, okay? So how they show this normally is as a circle, and then they divide it up in these wedges. And for each of the keys, they're showing you on the outside a major key. So you see here C. Sometimes they show the key signature underneath it, or just the number of sharps and number of flats, which for C is 0 sharps and 0 flats. Okay? That's the key signature. It tells you what the notes are in that scale, in that key. And then on the inner circle, they'll show the relative minor. The relative minor of C is A minor. It's the one that shares that key signature. And so they'll show that on the circle of fifths. And so as you go through all the keys in Western music, you're going to have wedges like that going around a circle. And they call it a circle of fifths because the next wedge to the right is going to be G. It's going to be G because that's the key that has 1 sharp. Okay, they just add 1 sharp note in the scale. And now it becomes G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, 1 sharp. Okay? That's the next scale in the circle of fifths. It's up 1/5. You go up 1 key, C, D, E, F, G. That's the 5th scale degree of C major. So you go up a 5th, that generates a new pie chart category, a new pie wedge in the circle of fifths, and it's the key of G, and G, which is built with our major scale formula. G, whole step to A, whole step, half step, whole step, right? Whole step, half step, right? Whole step, half step, whole step, half step. Okay, so you build the scale off that root G using that formula, and it sounds like that do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do scale that you sang, the major scale that has that sound in those intervals. But the notes that are generated to do that, when you do those steps, generates that F sharp. Okay, so now you have a key signature with a sharp in it, And that's the next one. So you do that all around the whole circle through all the keys. And you'll come back around to see if you keep going in fifths this way. And you also, it's a circle of fourths going counterclockwise. So as you go counterclockwise, you generate the flats. And so the next one down is F on the left. But we'll look at that in another lesson because we got a lot to cover here. So that's relative minor and parallel minor, okay? So when you see these roots on pentatonic scales, they're a relative minor root, okay? And like I said, they usually just introduce this by saying, here's the pattern, this is your minor and this is your major, but I want you to know it's the relative minor. They share the same notes, that's why this works. Okay, so pop quiz. If I wanted to play an A major pentatonic, how would I do that? Well, I'd move my pinky finger down to the A. Okay, so that's A major pentatonic. But this is A minor pentatonic. But it's also C major pentatonic. Okay, and if I wanted to play a C minor pentatonic, what would I do? I'd move my index finger up to the C, so now it's C minor. Okay? You with me? So that's how you move these around the neck, and that's why they focus on showing you those roots on the sixth string. But like I said, when you actually start to try to use these in solo and improvise, if you're playing in the minor, you need to know your roots are in that E form, or if they're major, they're in that G triangular form, root form that we studied, okay? Now, so let's... there's a lot of talk, covered a lot of stuff here, but let's do some practice, okay? So I am just going to put up I'm going to put up the form that has both the minor and major roots. And let's practice these. So let's practice the pattern and do some subdivision of the beats here. Okay, so let's start at, let's just go to 69, nice and slow. So as we divide these, they start getting faster. It's not too overwhelming, okay? So we're going to do A minor and C major pentatonic form here. What we're going to call pattern 5, but a lot of instructors teach this as pattern 1. But trying to tie these all together with the same system here. So, all right, 1 and 2 and ready, go. And sorry, quarter notes. Pretty slow. Were you able to do it and stay with me? All right, let's do eighth notes. Now it's 1 and 2 and ready, go. And okay, do you notice that because these are 2 notes per string, this makes it really easy to do alternate picking. Down, up, 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 down, up and down those patterns, okay? So let's practice this with our alternate picking, down, up on every note, okay? One more time with eighth notes. 1 and 2 and ready, go. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Except I didn't do the double hit up there because I was trying to talk. Let's do it again. 1 and 2 and ready, go. Just like that, okay? Down, up. This time I'll call out the picking for the right hand. So I'm asking your brain to do a couple things at once. Pay attention to the notes that you're playing here, and pay attention to your right hand and what you're doing, okay? That may be a lot if you're a beginner and you're just starting to get the hang of this a little bit. So, but for most people, this comes pretty quick, okay? So sit with it for a few minutes on this pattern and, you know, work through with me here, and then go sit and woodshed on this a little, okay? 1 and 2 and ready, go. And down, up, 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 down, up. Okay? Now, here it gets trickier. Let's subdivide this into triplets. Well, how's that going to work with 2 notes per string, right? Well, it's a little trickier. So here's what I want you to try to do. And this might, if it's the first time you're trying this might feel pretty weird and you might have to sit and go real slow with it. But we're going to go triplet, 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 triplet. So the pattern is going to sound like. Okay? Now, that's not so bad. But what am I doing on my right hand? Well, I want you to pick this 2 different ways. Now, first I want to pick it alternate picking, down, up, down, up. So let's do that. 1 triplet, 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 triplet. Here we go. Down, up, down. Okay. Now, were you able to go down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up through there? You might even have to slow this down a little. Let's slow it down a little more. Just a little more. Here's 58 beats a minute. Okay, so now it's triplet, 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 triplet. And I'm only doing that so I can say the downs and ups fast enough and give you a chance to actually think through and watch what you're doing. So we're going to do alternate picking. So it's down, up, down, up, down, up, down. It gets weird because the emphasis is switching. You kind of feel an emphasis when you're doing down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Now it's down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, right? As you're having that triplet feel laid over 4 over double over 2s, 3s over 2s, right? All right, so here we go. Triplet, triplet, triplet. Here we go. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Okay, did you get that? Let's go down. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. There we go. So now I want to just play these over some chords for you for a minute and just meander around. So here is a, I think I have a C going on here already. Oh, I have a... Alright, this is a... Alright, this is cool. Let's do this. So this is... Let's put some drive on this. I've been talking about using these for rock and roll, right? This is a chord progression out of a Molly Hatchet song. And the solo stuff that's going on in here, for several minutes, it's almost all pentatonic stuff. Okay? So here we go. Really very warmed up, and that's moving actually a lot faster. I'm a little slow there. Alright, I'm a little off. The reason reason I'm showing you that is literally all those notes are just right out of the top half of that pentatonic. All right, they're sitting there. What key are they in? They're right here. Okay, so they were sitting here going, oh yeah, we're up here. There we go. That's where we were. They're in C minor and E flat major. Okay, so I was going. Okay, so those notes, when I'm sliding and bending, that's this note. So it's like going. They're literally just working off those two notes. But they're using some other techniques. They're using a bend. Right, they're bending that note to that note. Then they're sliding up, which is this note. Okay, same note. So they're using the bends and slides in there to give that lick some flavor, but it's really just... Okay, so it's a very rock and roll lick, right? But it's really two notes right off this pattern. When that solo cuts loose, he goes... Okay, see how that's coming right off of these notes? It's all right out of that pattern. He's taking this, which is this note, and he's going. It's a cool solo. When that peels off, I mean, it's put some real energy in because he's really flying. But the solo coming before that is a slower kind of cadence against. It's a different subdivision of the beats, and then Dwayne Rollins steps in with that lick. You know, it kind of comes off this break that's going. And there's big bump, bump with the bass and the drums hitting right behind that while they're going. Bump, 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 and the chord progression's changing. So that's going on with, which I think is what I have here for the chord progression. Let's see. It's kind of there. Let's change it. Let's just do it like this. Okay. Here's what I'm talking about. All right, so it's going. Actually going fast and I'm not warmed up. But so you saw how little pieces of this pattern can be really useful. As he gets going in that solo, he then does coils. So I'm going to show you what coils are. Coils are, you can do them with different numbers and notes, but here's a 3-note coil that goes. So we'll go back to A minor and C major for this part. Okay, I'm backing up one note, so I go first, second, and third note, second note, third note, and fourth note, third note, fourth note, and fifth note. When you do that fast, it starts getting pretty cool. My hatchet used those all the time. Dwayne Rowland peeled those off so fast. And he'd also jump over some strings doing it and skip, and I could show you some examples, but he usually started up on the higher note though. Put some bends on there. So that little riff as that song closes out, that's from Boogie No More. As they go out, they do a... Well, now that's his solo, so at the end it's going... Once again, right out of this pattern. So he's going... Over the top of that, they're harmonizing, going. Whoops. So you got two guitars doing pentatonics out of that same pattern, but with harmonized notes. Sounds really cool, man. It's just, I love that part of the song. It just is ripping loose, and they're just shredding on these pentatonic scale forms. Okay? And then they get one going. That's the harmony. The main, more dominant melody of that lick is... Okay? Those are coils off the top half of that, 3-note coils. Straight out of this pentatonic form, okay? So I wanted to take time to show you that because this stuff really is used in a lot of rock and roll and blues rock and pop and country. Pentatonic soloing is really very, very prevalent. So you want to learn these, but so I kind of want to let you hear these over some chords. That's a C chord. I'm kind of emphasizing C notes. You get a brighter, happier, major pentatonic sound going. Now I'm going to emphasize A notes more. That didn't really work as well, right? Now let's change it to A minor. Flipping it up a little. Right now that's an A minor chord. Same scale pattern. using an A minor pentatonic, okay? And what happens is if you put a chord progression together, like a blues song, so you go C, F, G. C, F, and G. That's the G. Back to a C. Okay. When I get home on that C chord, I want to land on a C. There it goes to the F. There it goes to the G. I'm just playing C notes. Now I'm gonna. Sounds kind of bluesy, right? So that's kind of how that works. Now the blues, they'll usually use 7th chords or 9th chords, but there's a bazillion songs that are, including in rock and roll, that are really blues songs if you look at the form of the chords and the chord progression. They're just a blues progression, but they're rocked up and they're played fast with a driving, instead of a swing beat, a driving 4/4 rock beat. And, just with a pentatonic scale and 3 chords, there are a bazillion songs out there, okay? So I know this is getting long, but this is an important topic. Now, here's where we want to go from here, okay? We want to be able to play these and really know them on the neck. We want to know what key we're in, major and minor, and we want to know where the root notes are so we can solo over those. And you might spend a month, once we learn all these, you might spend a month every day meandering around in those patterns, to borrow a comment from Steve Stein, meandering in those patterns, playing, the first week maybe just on a metronome, just staying around those patterns and moving through the 5 patterns. We only covered 1 pattern today, and I've spent quite a bit of time talking about it because I'm introducing more than that pattern. I'm introducing the concepts around the pentatonic scale, what they're formed, how they're formed, what they're used for, how they sound against different chords, okay, all of that today. As we go through the next patterns, we're not going to do all that again. We're going to go much faster through the next 4 patterns. But this one that everybody knows the pattern, this is why I'm starting on this one. Most people know this pattern, and it's easy to learn if you didn't. Okay, that is today's scale of the day. It's pretty long, but I think, you'll get some stuff out of it maybe that you didn't know before. I hope.